All right, this is going to be a short-ish overview of how you can use a DualSense or DualSense Edge controller. Really, any PlayStation 4 or 5 controller will work, but these work specifically well to control games with the gyro function built into them that seemingly most people are just ignoring that it exists, and how it can replace or just be a very good substitute for a mouse and a full desk and a whole keyboard setup and all that as far as accurately moving a cursor around. And it's a great workaround for some of the games that don't have any controller support and you need a good cursor implementation, where without an actual cursor it either becomes really janky or really difficult to play because the thumbstick is not a accurate enough way to control crosshair or the cursor to have enjoyable gameplay. Or you just want to travel and all you want to do is take one of these instead of a gaming keyboard or gamepad or mouse pad, having to find a desk and a chair. And if you just have a laptop somewhere, you could just plop it down and this will work equally as well, or plug it into a hotel room TV or whatever. But let's check out the options real quick, and then we'll just do a little bit of gameplay and see what it works like. I'm just using Steam. Everyone's got Steam, hopefully, so it's just the easiest way to do it. And this is going to cover Diablo 3, obviously, a game that does not have any controller support. So a lot of the workarounds for it out there are, in my opinion, a little bit janky, and they require you to get used to quite a few things and remember quite a few button combinations and layers and stuff like that to aim your skills, and sometimes even download software or scripts to run for the controllers to control all your bits. So this works a lot simpler than that. You just go to your desktop layout and enable it. If you don't have it enabled already, and what you can have is a standard desktop action set. Why I like to have this is because I use my controller to control not just my games, but also sometimes just I want to lean back, control my cursor, watch some videos, play games, and be able to take my cursor off the game screen onto a music application or just my browser screen and go to my next episode or change songs, yada, yada, yada. You get the picture. So the way I get around this is I have my function button. What they do is they just change my layers. So obviously the standard desktop layer, and then when I long press this, it takes me to the Diablo 3 layer. What that consists of is the ABXY buttons, or PlayStation equivalents, are just 1 through 4 in whatever order works best for you. Those are just all your skills. Left bumper is Q for your potion. I just took that from the console controller setup. A lot of the stuff there makes a lot of sense. This is going to be a little bit different. My right bumper is my left click, and my right trigger is my right click. And the reason I do that and not use the triggers as right and left click respectively is just coming from a mouse, having my index finger on the left and my middle finger on the right just made a lot of sense to me. And the way I hold the controller is with my index finger on the bumper and my middle finger on the trigger. And then I cover the paddles with my middle finger on the left and my ring finger on the right. And that is really comfortable. I've got small, medium hands, and that fits really well for me. So that being said, bumpers, paddles, the left paddle here I've got set to enter, and that's just for Diablo, for salvaging items. Makes it super easy and quick. Right paddle is nothing because I use it in the software here, or in the Steam setup, to temporarily disable the gyro. So that works for me. The accessory buttons, I've got only escape bound to the start button. That's really all I've needed so far. You can bind something to the other ones if you so see fit. Jesus. But I didn't. Moving on. D-pad. Up is Alt, because from console that would be, I think, auto-equip item, and that's not necessary for PC. I just want to be able to turn my item names on and off. The rest of them are from the console, so down is your quick map, left is your inventory. If you click it, if you hold it down and press it, it turns into your skills. And then right is your town portal key. Simple enough. Triggers again. Right trigger is mouse click right. Left trigger is shift for forcing the character to stay in place so you can cast stuff. Works really, really good. Moving on to joysticks. The right joystick is kind of useless. I don't really ever use it. I bounce scroll up and down on it just for navigating the menus. I think a couple places you really want to scroll up and down, and mousing over to the scroll bar and dragging it down is a little annoying. But outside of that, a lot of empty inputs there. Could be used for a multitude of other options. And then the left joystick is a mouse region. Now, I've got this set up to move my character around if I don't want to move him with the actual cursor. And the way this works is it's just basically a bone stock mouse region. It looks like a lot of sliders here, but almost all of them are either on or really, really close to their default settings. The only one I've got changed a lot is the outer ring command threshold and the region size. And that's so the size on screen is small, just around your character model, as opposed to just a giant circle. And then this is so that it enables the middle click once your stick is deflected more than, I think it's 20% of the stick deflection or whatever. And that just, the middle click is just force move. And that'll work really well. Trackpads, again, a lot of empty stuff here just because I haven't needed any other inputs for Diablo. It's not a many button game. P is just close all windows. So it's just touch the right half of the touchpad and it closes any window you might be in. It's just helpful to get out of stuff faster for the stuff you can't walk away from. And then the meat and potatoes of it is going to be Gyro. Again, a lot of options here. A lot of these newer options from the beta stuff have many different sliders and control schemes. But honestly, as mouse, which is like the OG one, has worked really well for me. And again, almost everything in here is going to be on the default slider. Nothing has changed. The only thing I changed is I just bumped up the mouse sensitivity because I want to be able to have most of my cursor movements kind of be here and not have to move the controller a lot more than is comfortable for, gaming for a long session. I do most of my movements right here. It's just all on center, so it's compact and comfortable. And that's really it. I'm going to switch over to in-game and just do a quick rift and just show you how that works and how it might work for you in the future. So that's just a witch doctor. And again, the gyro is just on by default. So I'm pressing nothing. It is just enabled. And you can see how little I have to move the controller to make these adjustments. So as long as I'm resting either, in my lap or on a table, it's very steady. And then left click moves my character around. And this is 99% of the time how I move. I did say the right stick is bound to move the character, so it's just got a circle region around him, and wherever you press, he just force moves you there. You don't click anything, so you can walk over items and people, and you're not gonna accidentally activate anything. And then once you get there, you just let it go, and the gyro activates again. Now, if you're over here, the stick will snap your cursor. So if you're playing, I found that resting my left thumb on the D-pad works considerably better because sometimes I'll do little micro movements on accident with the joystick and it'll just snap my cursor to the middle, and that's very disorienting. But outside of that, super simple. Again, opening something, you can either walk away from it or just touch the right pad, whether it's whatever is comfortable, and it'll just close it wherever you are. It's super convenient. All your skills are right here. All your little auxiliary buttons are on the D-pad. And I'm just going to do a quick rift just to show that it works pretty well. And this character doesn't have a ton of targetable skills. So it's not the best to show, but I did go with the large cursor mode, so you can see that my cursor is, for the most part, where I want it to be. And I don't feel like I'm losing any mobility or anything like that from not playing on mouse and keys. Again, from somebody that has played it for years that way, this was extremely easy to get used to. It took me just a couple hours. And considering how easy it is to set up, it's really worth a try. Most people are going to own a console, and even if you don't have the Pro controller, this works just as well with a standard DualSense. I think they're a phenomenal controller that's very underrated, honestly. I'm surprised that Xbox hasn't caught up to the functionality of these yet. But yeah, this feels very natural. I'm not doing a whole lot of like humongous moves, you know. Most of my on-screen actions are very close to my character, so I really don't have a problem with it. And it's comfortable. Like I said, you could do this anywhere. From somebody who's traveled around with a gaming laptop a good bit, there's a lot of hassle with, you know, having to find the right chair and a desk and a good mouse surface. And on top of that, I'm a low sensitivity player, so I require a lot of space to move around. So finding that's annoying. I can do this anywhere. And it works pretty damn well. And this is, again, what I consider a worst-case scenario game. It's got zero controller support. So one of the small downsides is if you do rely on some of the on-screen prompts, they're not going to make any sense unless you remember which buttons you have bound to which buttons. So less is more with some of these, as far as, you know, not binding 1,000 buttons right off the rip, but just kind of start small. Go with just the bare necessities. And if you feel like you're using a button a lot, then, you know, you can add that in at any time if you need to. But the beauty of these setups, is you can always just click stuff. You know, you don't have to have a button set up for everything. As long as it's not an urgent action, something you need to do on the fly a lot, then potentially just clicking on it might be a very suitable replacement. I mean, you've got Warframe's implementation, for example, even their stock stuff, they've got like 20 different layers depending on what part of the game you're in, and that's all for controller. That's all because you don't have a cursor. So a lot of times you can't just click on a UI element on screen and move on with your life. It's got to be, you know, a specific sensitivity and a specific mouse region or whatever. And it ends up being really, really clunky. And if you want to change anything, it's difficult to change because you have to dig into a lot of sometimes deeply buried settings. Oh, crap. And this way, you don't have to do that. You just control everything on screen as you would with a mouse and keyboard. I probably should have played something with a few more targetable skills, but this is good enough, I think, to sort of show what this is capable of. I just need to get a little move on in finishing this rift so it doesn't turn into a 20-minute video. That being said, I'm not particularly good at gaming. I just like the tinkering aspect of it, sometimes more than the actual game playing portion. Let's see. But yeah, this has been a very eye-opening experience for somebody who's never picked up a controller since I was a kid. I played a lot of video games on PC. I always thought this was going to be almost impossible for me as far as, you know, muscle memory and learning how to do it, aiming with the thumbstick, and, you know, first-person shooters were going to be a nightmare. And I'll make a video on Apex Legends, which is arguably one of the more fast-paced ones. It still works really well with this. Whether you want to set it up to take advantage of the in-game aim assist and just do everything as a controller binding, or you want to, dial up your difficulty a bit and set it up completely as mouse and keyboard inputs. They both work really, really well. They also have their downsides, but I'll go into more detail about those downsides in that video if there's any interest in me making it whatsoever. But yeah, we're almost done here, and this has been really straightforward. Everything's worked really well. There's no input that I feel like I'm lacking. I'm not missing anything. Like I said, I have quite a few hours in this game on mouse and keyboard, and I know what it's supposed to feel like there, and this doesn't feel any worse whatsoever. If anything, it honestly might feel a little bit better just because you have that versatility of, I could play this on the couch or just hook up my laptop to a TV somewhere and, veg out and just not have to focus so much on being at a desk somewhere and having a full setup. This is where the enter key comes into play. Just hitting enter and not having to mouse over every time to hit OK, or quickly getting rid of stuff. Inventory management, it's great. Obviously, you basically just have a mouse, so you want to just drag and drop stuff. It functions super well. There's a tiny bit of jitter on center, but that's because I've got my sensitivity cranked up pretty high. I don't like making huge movements. If you wanted to having it a little bit less violent, you totally can. And it'll be a lot smoother. However, that comes up to personal preference more or less. And it's, again, once you get used to it, it's super easy. If I was to upload this footage without the hand cam, I'm pretty sure it could be passed off as normal mouse and key footage. And the paddle for resetting the gyro position, I think I only have to use it like once or twice. That's when you bump up against the top of the screen and maybe over move a little bit, and now you're cranked up on your angle way high. I'll just hold it down and just reset my controller real quick and just reset the center. Or if you're going to be moving down a lot and I don't want to have my wrists, or up a lot, let's say, so you can see the cursor, I don't want to have my wrist at this angle, I'll just reset to where that's my center, so that I'm just moving up at a neutral angle, and then I can just always reset it to center. It takes extremely little time to set your center wherever you want. So yeah, hopefully this is helpful or maybe educational, or get some people to mess around with this a little bit. Again, the setup it takes 10 minutes to set up a Steam profile, and just give it a shot. You might like it, you might love it like me, and maybe get rid of your mouse altogether. Who knows? But thanks for watching.